Hey everyone, I'm Julianna Armand with Watchman Action, and this is
Oh,
Amania.
it's me, Amania Salas, and I'm here today with City Talk Politics, and we are going to talk about some of the things that we're seeing in
Mhm.
cities, our own cities, but your cities as well. And so we're talking today about our health,
Mhm.
medications, and at the center of this conversation is really going to be the confirmation of our new health czar. We're going to make America Healthy Again, RFK Jr., who is being confirmed as we speak. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that surrounding what's happening there and how we perceive that and how that's going to affect we, the people in the society.
Amen. We need to regain the control of what's happening as far as our health is concerned and what we want to see happen, not what other people want to see happen.
Yeah, yeah, it is critically important for us to look at the landscape. I mean, who in this country doesn't have a health challenge?
Exactly.
I mean, everybody's got something. Everybody's got something. And then when you're looking at television and you see all of these commercials about all of these medications, and then there is 10,000 side effects that goes along with it, and I'm just like, dude,
What the hey?
why do I want to take this if I have to deal with all of this extra? Like, I'll live with whatever this is. But that's the thing. Like, you take these medications thinking and hoping and wanting for you to get well, but you're implementing new diseases, you're implementing new sickness, new illness, and it's like,
Yeah.
what is the point of this?
Exactly. So back in the early 1900s, they actually drove out the true medicine, right? Father gave us herbs to be able to ingest, to be able to take care of and heal our body. At what point did they say, oh, you know what, this oil synthetic thing over here, we're going to put it in your body and somehow we're going to heal you? And I think that's what RFK is trying to push towards, where he's like, you know what, we need to look holistically at what's happening,
Mm-hmm.
with our health. And which is why he, when they were pointing at him and asking him questions, they wanted to pinpoint him into, are you going to be for the vaccine or against the vaccine? Are you going to, get rid of the vaccine schedule? Are you going to, like, what are you going to do? And I literally looking at him going, he's really down the middle of the road.
Mm-hmm.
And what he's saying as
Mm-hmm.
far as
Mm-hmm.
health is concerned, but he's going, we need to look at the vaccines, we need to look at the food, we need to look at the sky, we need to look at, and he's right. And it's finally we have somebody that's in there going, okay, we're actually going to look at what's causing everything that you were talking about, all
Yeah.
the health issues that we're
Yeah.
seeing.
Yeah.
I think he said that 70% of our teenagers would never qualify to be able to go into the military because they couldn't pass the physical. I mean, really? 70%?
Yeah. Wow. 70%. That is huge.
That is huge.
When we think about, okay, so we're raising our children, we're implementing them with all of these foods that's no good for them. Let's be honest, like, let's be transparent about it.
Exactly.
You walk into the supermarket, and more than likely mom is not reaching for the vegetables she's reaching for what's going to make life easy for me right now. What can I put together? Can this,
Right.
can that, can this, can that. And those are the things. Oh, here's you go, honey. Here's a can of SpaghettiOs. I'll throw a little bit of a whipped cream or something on there, livening it up. But essentially, who knows what's in those canned raviolis? Who knows what's being put in
The
that?
poisons.
The poisons.
The poison.
And so when we are preparing meals for our families and we're using these pre-ready, concoctions, if you will, and so now our children are becoming obese. Our children are not healthy. And so now, to your point, Juliana, is that we're doing these things and the kids they're not healthy. They're not even able to go and defend this country. So they can't go into the services because why? They've got all kinds of diseases, asthma, diabetes. They have all these things.
They have physical.
They can't pass their physical. They're obese. They're out of shape. They're drag. They're just dragging. And so who's going to defend us? Because the Chinese people, Their kids
Uh,
are not like that. Their
No.
kids are mentally being trained, physically being trained, while our children are what? Lacking?
Yep. I literally was at a grocery store one time, and these two heavyset kids came in, and I thought, oh my God, I know exactly where they're going, because I had seen a heavyset woman, and in her cart was nothing but processed food. It was, potato chips and pizzas, and just, I was like, and all I could think of was, to me, that's child abuse.
Yeah.
Does she not understand? Like, I mean, she is heavy. Is she not seeing what she's doing to her own children?
No.
This is not a genetic thing.
No. No.
No, this is a what are you consuming thing.
And you're right. In order for us to be a healthier society, we really have to be, this is my word for this year, intentional.
Yes.
Right?
Great
About what we're doing in all aspects of our lives.
Yep.
But being that we're talking food and bodies today, so we have to be intentional about what we're eating. And we have to be intentional about our children and their health, because again, we are training them from the womb. We have to be intentional about what we feed them starting out. And so when they come out of the womb, our baby foods, I remember when my son was, a baby, I would feed him, I would make him, food from scratch. I mash up his mashed potatoes, mash up his carrots. I didn't really rely on the thing. Yeah, I really wouldn't rely on the jar. Not saying that I didn't use the jar food. I did. A girl had to work too. So I did, but I was intentional to make sure that he was getting nutritious foods as well. And as he got older, I still kept that, vegetables and everything. He grew up healthy. And once he got allergies, that became his downfall, is that he got allergies, and that had been a problem for him for a really long time. But my whole point is we have to be intentional about what we're putting in front of our children, because we have to be looking at these cereal boxes. We have to be looking at all of these things, because this is what's killing us. And before, they're 15 years old, they've got all kinds of diseases, and it's terribly, terribly sad. So we have to be intentional about the foods that we're making for them as they're young, as they move on into adulthood.
Wow. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I mean, it's we have to.
Why aren't we? Is that, what? I think it's all the propaganda. It's all what we see on TV. It's all what's flashed in our faces. It's all about, rush, rush, rush. It's all about convenience.
Yeah.
We've gotten away from the core of, I know my grandparents. I remember, we had a garden in the backyard. We had grapes, and we had, tomatoes and other things growing. Like, we didn't just rely on going to the grocery store. My grandmother would go to get the milk and some cold cuts and whatnot and some bread, but we made everything from scratch, and we grew some things. At this point, we're not doing even close to that. I mean, we're going through McDonald's, and this is what we're feeding ourselves and our children.
Yeah. It's so funny. I remember when my son was growing up, and we didn't eat McDonald's and stuff. We stayed away from that stuff, because he learned that, the French fries, nothing happens to it. We literally found a French fry from years, and it looked the same. It didn't turn. You know how food is supposed to spoil. It's supposed to turn, right?
So what does your body do with that?
How does it process that?
It doesn't know what to do with that. It's like, get out of me as soon as possible, because that's not something I can really assimilate into my core. And then your body has to deal with that, because I think what people should be looking at food, and I think that's what RFK is going to wind up doing, is he's going to be telling people, let's look at food for what it is. It's the nutrition that we need.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I think he's going to start highlighting and going, you know what? You've been getting all the propaganda from, the wrong side. You know, they're telling you to do the fast food and whatnot, and it's okay. No, we're going to talk about how, you know, the chemicals in the foods that the kids are eating, it's causing the ADHD, you know, all the extra stuff that's happening with the kids and the meltdowns that that they go through, right? There's a direct correlation to what they're eating to how they behave. My grandson was here. He's so cute, right?
Yeah, he is so cute.
my neighbor threw up some candy and I thought, oh, I'll give him a couple of pieces. One time, I never did it again because that kid was a completely different kid. He was throwing himself on the floor. He was throwing a tantrum and he just like completely reacted to the candy. And I said, you're never getting candy from me again.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, you can have all the dates and all the craisins and raisins that you want, but you're never going to get that kind of crap again.
Well, I'm glad as a grandma, you are open to these things and have the ability to even see that, you know, like the change in behavior, because a lot of people, people aren't even seeing, oh, that boy, yeah, he does that. But hey, it's because you just gave him X, Y, and Z. You just gave him a Snicker bar. You just gave him whatever. And so now he is reacting, his body is reacting to the chemicals that was just put in, just like our own bodies. Like yesterday, I'm going to use me right now. Yesterday, I had some oatmeal, and I don't normally use sugar, but I use, you know, the fake stuff at times. So I made oatmeal and I had some, and I had it, and then I had a muffin afterwards. And so I just, my energy, this was like 12 o'clock. All of a sudden, my energy that I had, like, I was like, oh man, I just need to lay down. Like, I just felt horrible. And I laid down, and then everything else that I needed to get done, nothing got done. I was like, you know what it was? The sugar in the oatmeal, and then the muffin had sugar too. And my body I don't put these things in me anymore. And so my body, I had a reaction.
Your body said, no, ew, I don't like that. What did you do to me?
I had a reaction. Yeah, I did. So, you know, we just have to be mindful of, you know, with everything you put in, there's a reaction. Literally. You know how, you know, action and reaction. So that's exactly what happens to our bodies, and that happens to the children, to the kids. What happened with, you know, your grandson. So yeah.
So, all right. So you want to go back to RFK?
Yes, RFK. So I didn't get to watch. I listened for a little bit. Yeah, I think it was day before yesterday. And I find it very interesting. So he was being lectured
literally
by, we're going to call it for what it is, Pocahontas. Okay. Yeah, I said it. He was being questioned by Elizabeth Pocahontas Warren.
That's so funny.
And so at first I heard the questioning. I'm like, who is this person? I wasn't watching, I was hearing it. I was like, who is this person? Why is she being so rude and aggressive and all of this? And all I kept hearing RFK Jr. say is something to the effect of, I just want us to be healthy. I just want us, my main focus is to make us better and healthier. That's all I want to do. I don't want to do X, Y, and Z. All I want, that's my focus. President Trump has put me in charge to do this. This is what I want to do. That's my focus, is so we can look at the food, so we can look at what's making us so sick, so we can look at these things. But she wouldn't let up. She just kept hammering him about all kinds of different things. Oh, if he's going to become a lobbyist, you know, to bring his out there agenda and all of these things that was irrelevant to the conversation. And I'm just like, this is the woman who said she was Indian, pretended to be what she wasn't, so she could become a politician. And then when she's called out on it, you know, then you're being you're all kinds of phobes, because you're saying, lady, you're not Indian. You pretended and you lied, and you utilized that platform to propel you to now senator, you know? This is what you did. You've made money off of that, because she was trying to find out, oh, you're gonna make money off of this once you no longer are in office. So are you gonna promise us?
Promise you're not gonna.
You're gonna promise us that you're not gonna make money off of this after you leave office. You're gonna promise us at least 4 years after you're not gonna, lobby or whatever it is that she was trying to put out there. But lady,
you've been benefiting by the millions.
You're still benefiting.
Pot call the kettle black.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Seriously, really,
phony.
We can see right through that.
Fake and phony.
When RFK was up there, one of the senators, Republicans, said, if he was nominated by a Democrat, nobody would be harassing him because he is so, middle of the line. He's for abortion, right? He's for the vaccine schedule, the childhood vaccine schedule, which I am totally against. And the reason why I'm against it is because when my kids were little, it was a much smaller amount. And now it's like 72, forget it. And then they want to put that mRNA stuff in all the vax, forget it. I wouldn't touch a child with a vaccine for nothing. But anyway, he's like, we need to look at these things.
Yeah. It brings forth the question. And it wasn't just her. It was just all of these liberal Democrats who, a whole lot of them, really putting the screws to him. And all he's got is, I want to look at the food. I want to know why we're so sick. I want to know why our kids are in this way. I want to know why. I want to fix that. And this is why.
And they're against him just because he was nominated by a Republican, even though he ran as an independent. What did
he ran as an independent? Well, he was trying to run with his party as a Democrat, because that's what he is. But his party took away the democracy, and his party said, no, you're not going to run because nobody is going to go against Joe Biden.
And then they slipped in Kamala.
Yeah, nobody's going to go against Joe Biden. We're not having a primary. We're not having anything. Nobody. So it was him who tried to run as a Democrat, and the party said, go sit down. Miriam Williamson, if remember her from last cycle when she tried to run for president, how she was going to bring the country together through love and kumbaya. So she wanted to run. And they said, go sit down somewhere. Go sit down somewhere. And there was a couple of other people, I think, that also were looking to run. And they was like, no, nobody's running. And so RFK said, you know what? I want to do this. So now I'm going to leave the Democrat Party because the Democrat Party is not for democracy. And so now he went and he ran as an independent. And so during that time of him running, he was making a lot of sense.
Yes, he was.
And then they labeled him a conspiracy theorist because he was talking about, maybe these vaccines are not so good for we the people.
Like when the senator said, conspiracy theorists have won 36 and everybody else 0 because everything keeps coming true. It's not a conspiracy theory anymore. When it comes true, it's like, no, we've been talking about that. You've just been labeling us and demeaning the people that are going, I can see what's going on, right? And because I'm speaking it, they have to belittle me so that I can shut my mouth.
Yeah.
It's all propaganda so that we're not communicating with each other. Even the whole TikTok scare and whatnot. That's where we're all learning about what's going on in North Carolina, for example. Like if we didn't have other people coming on and doing on the ground reporting about what's really happening, we're not going to get that from, the mainstream media. They're not interested in telling us what's going on.
Nope.
right?
Nope.
Because they're at this point, I'm sorry, but when you're a criminal cabal and you're coming after we the people need to stand up and have our voices be heard. We need to hear each other and what's going on in the communities. That's the reason why Amania and I are doing this.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
She's on City Talk and I'm doing Watchman Action. Why? Because we all have a voice. We need to be talking about what's happening in our community. Let's go back to the 15-minute cities and the Vision Zero that I'm now living in. Okay. Like people don't know that it's happening because why? Because we're not talking.
Yes. Yes. We're not talking.
We need to be talking. Your voice is so important. You need to know who lives in your neighborhood because if stuff goes down, that's your commodity. It's your people that's around you. Because when stuff happens, you're going to help each other. Why do you think they have been importing all of these immigrants? Because I'm not going to pick up a gun against Amania. I'm going to go to Amania's house and pull her out and go, hey, give me your gun and, get down on the ground. That's never going to happen. But you know what? Hey, how many 6,000 IRS agents were hired and they had to carry a gun? There are more people that they wanted to hire for our IRS agents, right? Than we have in the FBI, the DOJ, all of them combined.
That's right. 87,000 is what it was.
It was 87.
87,000 IRS agents coming for us.
That's their version of a military that they were going to use against us.
Yeah.
I want to know where our militia is. That's what I want to know. I want to know what they're thinking at this point.
I don't know. But we need to organize. And one of the key things that we have in our toolbox to do that is our voice. And guess what? Julianna, you have a book that outlines all of that. Please share it with us how and what your book is all about.
So we wrote a book and a workbook. So I'll start with the book, Empowered to Act, which is over your shoulder. The reason why we wrote is because we kept telling everybody, you need to read Rules for Radicals, right? Because that's Saul Alinsky's version of, how they've been coming against us in the culture and changing the culture, right? So we said, you know what, instead of having, sending people to go read that book because they weren't doing it, RC and I made the, I don't want to say Christian version of it, but just the conservative version of Rules for Radicals. Because, at least you need to know what the playbook is and you can start using the playbook. Well, then we also realized that we needed to have a whole workbook out of it. We saw that there were some great tools out there and there were people that wanted to get involved, but they didn't know how to get involved. So we needed to bridge the gap between the tools and the people to get them active. So the workbook, Watchman Action, is literally all about, how can we bring people together or even individually and say, okay, what is your interest? What's most important to you? Great. That thing right there. Who else wants to do that thing with you right there? Great. Now, okay, what tools do you have? Right? Who do you have? Right? What opportunities are there? We help you figure out and create a strategy so that you go, I want to see X, Y, and Z happen. And this is what I'm going to do to make sure that X, Y, Z happens. I think it's really important for us to be able to say, you know what? We have the ability to come in and figure out what needs to happen. I always say that when Jesus was walking the planet, the government didn't take care of the people. The people took care of the people.
Yeah.
Right. But we've been disempowered. But now it's like, okay, so we've got the tools and you have the wants, right? Now, all we need to do is get you guys ready to be able to do what it is that we're capable of doing. We don't need the government to come in. North Carolina. They were like, oh, we don't know how long it's going to take for us to clear this road. People came in with their tractors and their whatevers, and they came in, they cleared the road within lickety split. They're like, no, we're not waiting on the government to come in and take care of the people that are over there and are blocked. Right? We came together and we did what we needed to do. People were buying water and shipping things up to North Carolina. Why? Because we don't need the government. We don't need FEMA. We don't need any of them. We can do it ourselves.
Yeah. It's so funny you bring that up. Last week, I think President Trump visited North Carolina. He did, and he visited California. I covered that video. Karen Bass, the mayor of Los Angeles. And so President Trump, they were in a round table having discussions in reference to, getting started again, getting the cleanup done. And so she was telling people, like the community prior to Trump being there, that it's going to take us about 18 months to get this cleaned up. And so y'all just sit down somewhere while we figure it out. And so at that meeting, as she's talking about some of these things, and she, President Trump said, these are what you're telling these people. This is crazy. 18 months for this to be cleaned up. No, he says, these people are ready. They'll get it going tonight. All they need is for government to move out of the way for them to be able to access their own property so that they are able to implement and start doing the work as a community on their own. They don't need you to sit around or bring in contractors and then all this confusion about all of this. These people want to get into their place. They want to start fixing it. And so what happens to these people in your 18 months of waiting? Are they going to live in a hotel? Are you going to, provide them with that? Like, what's going to happen? These people, this is their home. They're ready to get things going. Within that 18 months, people can come from all over, trying to buy people's lands and trying to implement a whole new thing. No, President Trump said, no, that's way too long. That's not happening. Nope. We need to, he was like, I have presidential powers. You have powers too. As the mayor, you're able to do emergency powers and put that to work. And she's standing there, she a DEI, right? She DEI. And so she that.
What are we going to do?
It was brilliant. I loved it.
There's no reason for there to be a gap in helping. We can send billions overseas to whatever country, name whatever country you want. I don't care.
Yeah.
When we've got people here in our own country that has issues, we know that they're blocking it, that they're causing it, that they're allowing these things to happen to us, the people. There's no reason for any of this to be happening.
No.
None.
There's so much preventables. And I know we've talked about it before, but it really is something to say when we look at things that can be prevented. Like, we are literally causing ourselves strife and mischief and all of these things for no reason. Things can be prevented. Like, we're not saying that California fires doesn't come every year, because as long as I know, every year California is burning. But if we know these things and we put systems in place, Mayor Karen Bass, if you put systems in place for when these things do occur and come, you're better prepared. That's what being a mayor is all about, honey. That's what being a leader is all about, honey. This is your city, and you're supposed to be able to have systems in place to prevent these things. And if they do occur, we're handling it just like that. That's what being a mayor is all about.
I think people are starting to sit back and see when you start. Okay, so my degree is in forensic psychology, right? And my minor's in forensic science. And I had to take forensic classes, right? Obviously. Yeah. When you start taking all the pieces of the forensics really means storytelling. When you start taking all the pieces together and you start adding them up, you start connecting the dots, all of a sudden you start to go, wait a minute. You can see what they're really doing. They're telling you one thing, right? But behind the scenes, it's like business. In business, exterior, everybody sees a certain something because it's being marketed. It's all propaganda, right? But behind the scenes, all these other things are happening. It's the same thing with our government. It's like they're telling us one thing, but when you start putting the pieces of the puzzle together, all the forensic pieces, all of a sudden you start going, I know exactly what you're doing and why you're doing it. Like, this is not accidental. It's not coincidental. What, LA 2028? That's a 15-minute city. So they're burning down LA. I mean, at what point do we go, do we need to be calling this out? We're having all these, issues happening around that is supposed to be accidental, and we just go, I'm not buying it anymore. Not buying it anymore. You just can't keep lying to us and let's just go, yeah, we believe you. No. And I think enough people are going, no, we're not buying what's happening. So now we need to start talking about what's happening. Because if enough of us are coming together and going, we see your agenda and what you're doing, and holding their feet to the fire. It's like what I keep saying with Trump. Trump's got the globalists in one ear. We got to be in the other one. Okay. Trump's going to lean one way or the other. All the politicians that I've been talking to or I've been listening to, they keep saying the same thing. We need to hear from you. We need to hear from you. That's great. But we need to hold them accountable. That's part of the governance part. Our job is to make sure that they're doing what it is that they are supposed to be doing, not what money tells them to do, but what we, the people, tell them to do. So we need to be speaking loud and clear as to what culture and what we expect to be happening in our country. The whole reason why RC and I started Watchman Action, the whole reason why we're coming at you is because we've created a plan. Here's a plan to be able to figure out what the main plan needs to be. So what you need to do to make sure that we maintain America the way we expect America to be. We're about to be 250 years old. You know, all these countries blow up around this time. Yeah. So America's we're in trouble. Like, I don't think people understand how much trouble we're in right now. And we've been sitting down lackadaisical. I saw a video the other day. The woman was like, oh, you know, my husband said we need to start getting ready because, you know, Trump is about to take away some of my money and stuff like that. And that we're both going to have to go get jobs. I'm just sitting here going, is there any reason why you couldn't have been working to begin with? You looked like a healthy woman. There was nothing wrong with you. You looked, you know, like,
but she was saying to the government assistance monies. Is that what she's getting ready to lose?
Yeah.
I'm
at the point where it's like, I'm flabbergasted. Like, I can't even, my own family said to me one time, well, I'm on, you know, Social Security and this, that, the other thing, you know, you add that up to how many hours I'm making, like $9 an hour. This was many, many years ago. $9 an hour. Well, if I go get a job, I'm only going to be making like $11 an hour. So what's the point? And I thought, your self-dignity. Like, how could you not? But America, because we've just sat back and now it's like, you know, we're just collecting the money and everything's become easy and we're not doing what it is that we need to do. And now they're building a prison around us, all based on convenience.
Yeah. You know, I come from the housing business, property management work. And I remember this one lady who was on Section 8. And she'd been on there. I think it was like her mother's or something, and then she inherited it. And I don't even know you. Anyway, I'm gonna digress. So she inherited the Section 8 from her mother, and she's had it. And this was the city of Orlando. Because the city of Orlando has its own Section 8 program, the county has its own Section 8 program, and so on. So she was on the city, and so she had been on there for like 15 years or something. And she worked a good job and she made good money. And so, but she stayed on this here Section 8 throughout all of this time. And so here comes I, you know, and, you know, because the property was a low income affordable housing. So you have to be recertified every year, right? And so every year, you know, we're dealing with this. And so I go to recertify her, and she had her son living with her at the time. He was a truck driver. He was bringing home like $45K and plus her income. So they overqualified. They had way enough money to pay for their rent, to pay for their housing, to pay for these things. Did not need to be on the Section 8. And with the Section 8, I can't remember what she was paying, but it was very low. And so here you are with your son living on your property. He's making $45K a year. You're making, I forget what. And so these people got money. And so I says to her, you know, here's what your income is. And so therefore you no longer qualify. You no longer qualify for these programs, you know? And so she decided to move, right? Because she did not want to lose the Section 8. So she did not want to lose it.
She needed to make sure that her son was not on the lease and whatnot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so for years, the management there, you know, they just kind of overlooked it. They pretended that they didn't know. No. Oh God, no. Not me. I did not pretend. One year I called her to the floor and I says, your son lives there. This is, if you want to continue, we're going to have to do this. And so, oh God, yeah, she moved and she took her Section 8 with her.
Wow.
But that's what I'm saying. This is the kind of mentality people
Yep.
have. Like, and it's
Yep.
not like this was affordable housing. So you're already in lower market value property to begin with. You're already paying low rent. But you also have that incentive with that. So these people have no, motivation to get themselves out of things. Section 8 was put there as a means to help you from point A to point B.
Right.
It wasn't a means for you to inherit it like inheritance from your mama who sucked. You gonna suck the system dry, and instead of coming up and saying, I can afford it, I have my son who's and we can do better.
Yeah, no pride.
They packed up and moved to, there is no pride. And stuff like that irked me. Needless to say, I was not very popular.
Oh, well.
Oh, well.
But you know what? You're righting the wrongs. You're telling people that, you're abusing the system. And those that have been abusing the system have allowed, us to look the way that we do. And the rest of us that are, working our fannies off to try to make a better life for our families, better life for our country, just be happy, right? We're struggling. Mm-hmm. And we're struggling because those that don't want to pick up their own slack are depending on us to do what it is that we, they can't be depending on us anymore.
Yeah.
It's time. Like, for example, Watchmen Action. I can't save the country by myself. I can't save my community by myself. If other people don't rise up and do what they need to do, I'm in trouble. So I need to have my community stand up. We need people like that to say, no, I'm not going to be, sucking on the system anymore. Right. I'm going to start contributing instead of taking from the system.
Yeah. Yeah. It is about pride. And Julianna, I look at our society now and I look at, and I says, man, we have no pride as people, as women, as, we have no pride in ourselves, no pride in our country, no pride in anything. We just throw on and whatever, and we go to the market with our head rags and our pajamas, and the men, their butts hanging out. Everybody's in flip-flops and socks. When I tell you that irks me, I can't stand flip-flops and socks. I know there's stories behind that. We're not going to go deep in, but that's a pet peeve of mine. And you see all of these things, no pride in your appearance, no pride in any of that.
Yep. And back in the 50s and 60s, when the church was the center of the culture, right? How we acted, how we dressed, how we related to each other, what we did, right? Society was so different. I want our viewers to start imagining being able to have a society like that again. Because the young guys, they're all saying to us, the Gen Xers, they're saying, you know what? We want to be home moms, be home with the children and do that role. Husbands want to be able to go to work and make a decent living so that he doesn't have to worry about, paying a mortgage and the car payments and whatnot. That's what we used to have. We don't have that today. We've literally robbed from ourselves. Like the back generations robbed from us, and now we're robbing from the children.
Wow.
And if we don't start standing up and say, no, we're going to be pulling our own weight, A, B, we're going to have control of the culture, C, the church needs to stand up and say, hey, right, we're going to be demanding what the culture needs to look like instead of the culture, which is very negative. I should say the culture. I should say the evil ones telling the culture what the culture is supposed to look like. Right. We need those three things before we can, we need to be engaging with what's going on. We need to bring back the 50s and 60s when we had, pride, total pride. I mean, I can see the degradation of my community. I can see all the garbage that's on the floor now. Like, I've lived here for about 6 years now. and I can see it steadily getting worse. Like, why?
Why?
People will open their door and just put their garbage on the floor and back out of the parking spot. And I'm just sitting here going, what gives you the right to think that somebody else needs to pick up your garbage like that?
Yeah.
But that's literally where we're at.
Yes, we are there. And when you look at different communities, and I'll take a close community now. So Eatonville, okay? This community that's close to us. And we have Maitland community close to us. And I drive through both because when you leave one, you go into the next one. And I'm driving through Maitland and it's so nice. It's pretty. It's lovely. The trees and so on. It's just a peace. I'll go through there because it's a peaceful drive, right? There's no trash, garbage, none of that. Everything is lovely. And just a block down, I land in Eatonville. And I'm like, dude, what happened? What happened? Same thing, same land, same sky, same everything. Water, the plants, just the same. Everything's the same. Even though Maitland has probably bigger square footage of homes than the little town of Eatonville. By the way, which Eatonville is a historic community of Black folks. And so you leave one and you go into the other, into Eatonville, and I'm just like, it's like I've stepped into the Twilight Zone. I can look back and see this beauty, and I'm looking and I'm standing in this, and I'm just like, what's happening? No pride in the properties, no pride in the grass, no pride in the lawns, no pride in the aesthetics of the community. It's just a fail. And I have gone deep into Eatonville, and this is a very, very blue area with blue leadership. And I wonder at times, how is it that such a community that's historically a Black community, why is it not being maintained? Why is it not being cared for? Why is it not, when you walk around, you see all of these things? Like I say, there's a town right next door. Very different. Is it the people that lives there? What do you think?
I think it's the people, the propaganda, the government. I think it's a systematic oppression, right? They lift up what they want to lift up. They suppress what they want to suppress. And wow.
Well, I would also add, just like we're equipping people, the communities, your community doesn't have to be like that. We, the people in the community, we are able to put hands to work.
That's right.
To fix our community, to make sure, even though we have a nice little small town, okay, for example, we have other smaller towns. Let's look at College Park, for instance, or we can look at, I'm thinking College Park.
Hippie.
It has. But again, the people come together.
They have their own vibe. They have their own culture.
They have their own thing.
So the culture in Eatonville is different than the culture over there.
Yeah, it is. And when you look at even little towns like Belle Isles or, other towns, the community, it's not the government, really. It is the people in the community taking pride in, getting involved in the community, knowing all about the laws that's coming to play. They are very much involved. They're not saying we're leaving it to the government to deal with our business. We are in this.
Engaged
in our community. We're not going to let, anything, we're not going to let it fall to the side. We see this needs to be repaired, community. Hey, do we need to fundraise? What do we need to do to fix this historic place we call Eatonville? What do we need to do to fix our historic city council
Right.
building. What do we need to do? We gonna wait for Maxwell Frost to bring us some money.
No.
We're not waiting on him. We're waiting on we the community to come together to fix it. And I bring Eatonville up and I bring Maxwell Frost up because he is the congressman of Eatonville.
So, when I had the lab, my kids all smoked, right? My cigarettes. And I asked them, all of you smoke. What's up with that? And they were like, music. And they all started like playing, like, it's in the rap music. That's what we listen to. It's just become so normalized in the culture. I mean, I just want to say, to all of our, Black friends that are following us, LBJ went after the Black community. I would recommend that everybody see Uncle Tom 2. Uncle Tom 2, the movie, was fantastic. Uncle Tom 1 was good too, but Uncle Tom 2 was even better. I can't even believe I'm going to say that because the sequels are never like, better, but this one was, oh, wow. But what he spoke about was back in the 1920s, they had the Black Wall Street and, what happened to Black Wall Street and then what happened to the Black community through the decades and how beautiful the communities were in the 50s and 60s. And then how LBJ came about, right? And how he was destroying literally coming after the Black family, after the Black communities.
Yeah.
Right. Because the white communities were a mess. Right. My grandparents came here from Italy and my other set of grandparents came from Germany, like literally off the boat. Right. So we were having our own issues, our own hoods. But the Black neighborhoods, on the other hand, the church was the center of everything that they did. So the government came after the community. Then come 1970s when they took away all the, pride, made in America, no more, made in, the USA, no more. All the rah, they started pulling back on them. They started changing the culture and what we were looking at. And now we got to the point where, rap music is helping our teenagers think that, smoking marijuana is just normal and they should just be doing that.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, I have Black in my history. So even though my skin is very white, but I want to say to all of my Black friends, I just want to go, what happened? Right? People say, oh, slavery. I'm like, no, what happened to Black Wall Street? What happened to your beautiful families? Like, my family came into a crazy neighborhood. I mean, the drug house was across the street from my house. You know what I'm saying? But the Black community once upon a time was so beautiful. How did we get to the point now we've got an Eatonville? Like, I don't understand that. Because everything that happened to you guys trickled down and it still impacted me because it really wasn't about skin color more than it was, the community, the cohesiveness, the family.
Yeah.
Is so important because if you have self-government, this is what Pastor Paul Blair talks about. If you've got self-government, well done. You got family government nice intact. You got your church government nice intact. Your big government should be small because you're taking care of yourself, your family, your church, and these are just for the rules and whatnot. But we lost that. We're not governing ourselves. We're going to the grocery store in our pajamas, right? The family unit. Once upon a time, I mean, the lowest husband and wife divorce was in the Black family. Now all of a sudden, like 70% of the Black children are born to single moms. Like, so the family unit's destroyed. Who's going to church? Is the church really standing up and saying and talking about things that they need to be saying and talking about and doing the things that they need to be doing?
Yeah.
I opened the lab. Everything I was doing at the lab, the churches could have been doing. Everything I was doing. If the churches were actually engaged in doing what it is that they're called to do, which is to lead, right? There are shepherds. Where are they? So now you got the church that's been infiltrated by the government. It's been infiltrated by the evil. And now the government's telling the church what the church should be doing. 2020 rolls around. They're telling the churches that they're not essential, so they need to close. I'm sorry, excuse me?
But the liquor store stayed open. The church is closed and the liquor store stayed open.
This is insanity.
Yeah.
The church needs to get involved, and the church is not going to get involved unless we, the church, the real church, not the buildings, not the pastors, love the pastors. The pastors need to really step up and talk about the things that they need to be talking about from the pulpit. Because what part is Jesus Christ not Lord over your life? Another Paul Blair right there. Okay.
Yeah.
Who do you think made government? Father made government. Everything comes out of the Bible. The things that they're doing it's the Bible.
Yeah.
Therefore, we need to get back to Father's law for what Father wanted us to have. But we, the church, need to step up and say, pastors, lead. And if you're not going to lead, then we need to find somebody to step in and start talking some real truth about what needs to happen in our society. The war on women. Oh, we're going to be talking about, my husband and I on We Are the Watchmen Weekly. We're going to be talking about literally the war on women and how they are now able to. Now, my husband and I have been talking about this for about 13 months now. How they can take a single cell from a single person and make a baby. And they can also make the baby outside the womb. They can make it in, some middle contraption.
Wow.
Okay. So, well, if they can do that, they don't need you or I.
No.
They don't need the women. Right? Because they can create the baby that they want, how they want it from whoever they can slice it. And if you want to have the baby have the genes from multiple different people, you can do that too. And most people are like sitting here going, Julianna must be crazy. I can't believe she's saying these things. No, my husband and I, we're investigative reporters. We've been talking about these things for the last year, over a year. And it's like people don't realize, like when we talk about transhumanism, that's a real thing.
That's a real thing.
That's a real thing. Yuval Harari, or however you say his name, was talking about this is the last generation of real humans that we're going to have because, they can now change our DNA. Written on our DNA is our father. Do they want to change our DNA?
Yeah. Whoo, girl, that's a lot you just said there.
Well, I hope people hear that. I hope it scares people enough to get off the couch and do something.
Well, I heard it, Julianna. And what I also heard from the beginning of what you started with the rap music and how we went from Black Wall Street, how we went from excellence in Black Wall Street to the decay that we see now in the music and what we see visually when you drive through the community, when you are in the markets, in the supermarket, in the society, and you see the decay. Well, and then you see the failures of the church. Everything we're talking about, we are literally looking at the failures of the church.
Yep.
Because this is a moral decay. And this is where we are literally breaking down as a community, as a society, as we the people. And that a part of that breakdown is the breakdown of the mother, the woman, we the woman. And so as they start to take away, we saw it, all of a sudden men want to become women. As we see the decay happening, men trying to overtake women's spaces, women's bathrooms, women's sports, anything where the woman dominates, you're seeing men bringing their one-eyed selves into that space. But it is the decay. It's crazy that President Trump had to put out a thing and say, we're going by two genders, male and female, because the society has gone off the deep rails where a man can actually believe in his mind and his thoughts that he can become a physical me, a physical you, and, and he can call himself whatever he wants just because he puts on lipstick, a wig, and a dress, and he can call himself a woman and then goes and have surgery to cut off his penis and say, I'm a woman now. And if you say, well, no, friend, you're not a woman. You're just a man who cut off his penis. And you put on lipstick and a dress. A pig is still a pig, no matter how much lipstick powder you put on it. It's still a pig. And so, again, it is the decay of our morals that has brought us to this forefront where men are protectors have decided, I want to be you. They are no longer protecting us. They want to be us. And this is not a lot. And so and these people have mental illness, but the men the true protectors, I want to know, why aren't they standing up and saying, we're not going to allow this nonsense to go down. We're going to protect the women. We're going to protect them because they are a part of who we are.
That's right.
But the decay is happening, and this is where it is. And we see it in the rap music, the way they disrespect we the women, the way they demean we the women. And what really boils me even more is when I see the women, the rap artist women, I can't think of their names at this moment, but the rap artist, Foxy Red, what's her name? Sexy Red. Oh. Sexy Red. Okay. So those kinds of women, when they come out here and they spread eagle their vaginas and say, I am woman. No. This is the part of the decay. And so when the young girls is watching Sexy Red, open up her cooch to the public this way, what do you think those little girls is gonna do on TikTok? What you think they gonna do? What you think they gonna do? They're gonna be reserved and put together? No, they're gonna be spreading their little coochies open to the cameras to say, oh, I'm an influencer now. I'm an influencer. I'm this and I'm that. And again, it is the decay. And we need the church. And we need our men to stand up and protect we the women and protect the society.
Literally, they're sexualizing the children because they're coming after the children. Right?
Yeah.
Puberty blockers really means chemical castration. Can you imagine giving an 8-year-old boy a chemical castration? What parent would even think to do that to their child?
Oh, we have a celebrity that done did that.
Oh,
Gabrielle Union and her husband, the basketball player. I don't know. They castrated their son. I think that there was a different mother. Gabrielle Union wasn't the child's mother. Isn't the child's mother?
Oh.
But where is the real mama? But in the event, we saw that they turned this young boy into a girl. That basketball player who married to Gabrielle Union, they did that.
That's abuse. How did it become normalized? How could anybody do that to a child and it not be called child abuse? I don't understand that. You just took away his sexual ability to procreate and to just pleasure and something God gave him. And you just castrate this child?
Yep.
What is wrong? I don't understand. What is wrong with society at this point that we can go, oh, we're going to normalize that. We're going to normalize the LGBTQ because they want to come after children. We're going to normalize the drag queens in the libraries. Like, we're going to we're going to accept that? I don't accept that. I don't accept that.
Yeah. Well, it was talked about. My pastor talked about it just this past Sunday. He had this conversation. And he really brought it forth to us that, president, when you have a president who tells you, we're talking about Barack Hussein Obama, who made gay marriage normal, right? Or he normalized it. He put it in place. When he said that he is going to make the LGBT, what everybody wants. So these gay pride parades was forced down our throats at every single turn. They went from this to this in a matter of years. Obama did that.
Propaganda.
The LGBT flag everywhere. You won't see the American flag, but you will see the LGBT flag because they were putting it in our face. This is what they want. This is what the agenda is. And before he left office, he made it law. Obama did that. Obama did that.
Girl.
Yeah.
Girl.
Yeah.
Girl.
And he built the cages too.
We need a mama bear to step up and become a somebody so that she can go, I'm running for president at this point. We need mama bears to step up and to do what it is that we've been called to do. Because when I'm being discriminated against as a conservative Christian, I mean, I wear this cross very proudly. Right?
Good.
Okay.
It's beautiful, by the way. I think
Thank
I told you. It's very nice.
But I get criticized because of it. Yeah, of course. Because there are people that are like, I don't want anything to do with that. And it's like, I'm just sitting here going, okay, so we need to rectify that issue, right? We live in America because the church really needs to step up. We're losing ground in everything that's happening in our culture around us.
Yeah. The church.
The church.
The church. I mean, that's where, and I'm proud to say I have a church that speak on these things. Like I said, my pastor talked about Obama and how we got here with this whole craziness of transgenderism and, men wanting to be women and men in women's spaces and boys and girls cutting off their body parts, little girls cutting off their breasts, and all of this.
Pastor Paul Blair did 2 sessions of biblical sexuality and talking about how important it was. He went after all the globalism stuff and the climate change, spent 2 sessions on that. Like, you need to have a pastor that's standing at the pulpit and telling you the truth of what's going on, because we're going to continue having chemical castrations if we don't.
Yeah. And it's very sad.
Yep.
Very, very sad.
All right. So we're at an hour.
We are indeed.
I love you.
Oh, Jules, thank you. I love you too. And we have great talks.
We have great talks. We want to encourage. Here's your call to action. 1, you need the book Empowered to Act. 2, let's talk about Watchman Action and how you can start doing a Watchman Action program so that we can get your community moving, right? And 3, start your own podcast. I don't care if you're just doing you're having a conversation once a week with somebody. Invite your friends to talk. Have a conversation about what you're seeing in your neighborhood. I've been talking about Vision Zero. Why? Because this is 15-minute city. I'm not interested in living in the middle of a 15-minute city. Therefore, I need everybody else who lives here to understand that you live in a 15-minute city. And what are we going to do about it? Okay. Yeah. So start talking, start having conversations with the people around you, knock on your doors, get to know your neighbors, and just start talking. All right.
All right. So what I'm bringing to this is I have Liberty Talks. They're essentially town halls where we come together and have a conversation. We've had some very hard conversations at our Liberty Halls, and our next conversation is happening on February 26th. This is a live event in Orlando, and we are inviting people to come. We have 4 ladies. This is a conversation from the wives' perspective. All 4 ladies are married women, and we're going to be talking about the breakdown of the family, how to preserve the family unit. We're also going to be talking about how to build up single women to look at the option of marriage and how that landscape works. And we're going to be talking about building up our young girls so that they can become, wives and women of godly women. So that is the conversation that we're going to have. This is going to be an in-person, and we invite people to come. If you are in the Orlando area, we would love for you to participate. I will have links and stuff like that. We're going to, present it properly so that people can participate. And we may just, have it live streamed as well for those around the world so that they can see. And again, what we're doing is having conversations live and again, bringing the community together so that you can do it too. Liberty Halls, you can do it too. Bring people together. Right. Let's have a conversation about the issues. Let's have a conversation about the things that we're seeing in our community, because that's what I saw. There was a need for it. And I went in, God put the vision in my heart, and I started to pull it together, and he brought people like Julianna and RC, Coach Boom, and different people to help me put this thing together. Right. And I'm very proud of it. And our first Liberty Hall next month on the 26th, and it's going to be fabulous. And like I said, I'm very excited. And again, this is something you can do in your own community as well.
Awesome. All right, everybody, go to watchoneaction.org and go find out more about what we're doing. And we love all of you.
Okay.
Bye.
God bless. Bye-bye. Like, share, comment, and subscribe.
That could be important.
Please do.